He was known as Poppy and later 41, but George H.W. Bush rose to the pinnacle of power, drawing on his family name to cement one of the most successful political dynasties in American history. Despite his New England upbringing of comfort and privilege, Bush's parents instilled basic values, a dose of modesty from his mother and from his father, who was U.S. Senator, a great sense of public service. That commitment to serve intensified after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Bush enlisted in the U.S. Navy on his 18th birthday and became the youngest pilot in the naval service. He would eventually be awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for bravery in action after his plane was shot down over the Pacific in 1944. His dramatic rescue by a U.S. sub was captured on film. Following the war, Bush attended Yale, where he famously captained the baseball team and joined the secretive Skull and Bones Society. Over the next several years, he cultivated family connections to create a lucrative business in the oil industry. His attention turned to politics by the early 60s. Bush won 2 terms in the House of Representatives before a dizzying series of presidential appointments saw him serve as top diplomat at the UN, chair of the RNC during the Watergate scandal, liaison to China, and eventually director of the CIA.
I am a candidate for President of the United States.
Bush kicked off his first presidential campaign in 1979, mocking Republican frontrunner Ronald Reagan's voodoo economics before bowing out of the race. The snub didn't stop Reagan from inviting him on his ticket. The pair won the election, heralding an era of conservative values and limited government. As vice president, Bush worked to gain the trust of Reagan's inner circle, who viewed him as too moderate and elitist. He did earn respect for his calm and deference in the chaos surrounding the assassination attempt on Reagan in 1981.
The vice president refused to land on the South Lawn.
His declaration that only the president lands on the South Lawn has been called one of his finest moments as VP. During Reagan's second term, Bush distanced himself from the Iran-Contra scandal, claiming he'd been kept out of the loop at the White House, but suspicions that he knew more lingered for years. Bush announced his second bid for the presidency in October 1987. The same week, Newsweek magazine branded him a wimp.
For an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light. This is my mission, and I will complete it.
But his powerful acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Gave him a bounce he would capitalize on to defeat Democrat Michael Dukakis and become America's 41st president.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
President Bush vowed to shape a kinder, gentler nation, focusing much of his energy on international affairs. From his muted response to the Tiananmen Square massacre to the decisive military action in Panama, Bush's approach was characteristically conservative and pragmatic. His refusal to gloat over the collapse of communism was later viewed as a masterful move.
Have no choice but to drive Saddam from Kuwait by force. We will not fail.
The Persian Gulf War was short and decisive. Despite the backlash for leaving Iraqi President Saddam Hussein in power, saving Kuwait was viewed as the high point of Bush's term in office, lifting his approval rating to 90% in public polls. But foreign policy successes were not enough for him to win re-election in 1992. His defeat by Bill Clinton ultimately came down to a single issue, distilled by the Dems' unofficial campaign slogan.
It's the economy, stupid.
In the years since that stinging loss, Bush and Clinton formed an unlikely close friendship, teaming up to raise funds for victims of the Southeast Asian tsunami and Hurricane Katrina. Although no longer able to use his legs, Bush marked his 90th birthday with a parachute jump from a mile up in what had become something of a birthday ritual.